drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pilecki goes, dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pilecki. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will clip the grass. Oh, a 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete that. He's crazy.
The side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard.
In the thick of the Appalachian Mountains, our F1 drivers will be trading in the wine and shrimp for moonshine and crawdads. Virginia International Raceway provides a gorgeous hilly backdrop to its sinuous challenges that will no doubt test even the fastest drivers in this beast of a car. Who will be able to celebrate afterwards? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, VIR feels a bit old school, and there's good reason for that, but this is actually its second life. Tell us about this historic track.
Joe, you know, a bunch of guys with a bulldozer carved this thing in the Virginia mountains back in 1957. And they used it up until about 1974, and it sat dormant until about the year 2000 when they brought it back to life. This track here, located in the beautiful, beautiful, sprawling mountains of Virginia, Alton, Virginia to be exact. Joe, it is fast. It's 3.27 miles. It's a monster. 17 turns. Today, we'll get around here with 26 laps. A lot of tricky turns on this track. You do at times feel like you're constantly turning here, but the best way to take a ride around is with the GSRC Lotus 79.
All right, we've got Johan Orlampi and the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around VIR. Coming down the front stretch, the horseshoe is going to be a very popular place to pass. Heavy braking and the draft will certainly offer opportunities. This two-part corner has a deceptively late apex on the first half though, so try not to turn in too early. You should be able to power through the second apex, but line the car up to the right because you'll want a nice wide line through the kink leading to NASCAR Bend. It'll be easy to dip a wheel entering this left-hander, so expect a few drivers to lose it. Then we hit left hook. This is a very slow and frustrating chicane, but it leads directly into the snake. A little lift will get you through, then straight line these S's. Hopefully, you got to the power pretty quickly. You need the momentum along this part of the circuit since you won't be lifting until you hit South Bend. But before that, we've got to weave through the climbing S's. Try to avoid going too wide through here because it'll get messy very quickly. Then, hold right for the best entry into South Bend. If anyone understeers wide, they're likely to lose control. Switch sides fast and then blow it up for Oak Tree. Let it swing out after the first apex and then just clip that inside curb while you get back to the power. It is extremely important that you get a good run down the back straight. It's all uphill and it's a very long acceleration zone. You'll be under attack pretty quickly if anyone outguns you onto here. The problem is, if they only manage to get side by side, I wouldn't advise trying to keep next to them into the roller coaster. The kinked entry makes braking incredibly tricky into this slow, blind right-hander. Right away, the track weaves its way back downhill, but get the car off to the right and try to spot your turn in for hogpen. Once again, the bend of the road makes slowing up the car a bit difficult, but just like a number of corners around here, you'll find the critical aspect is getting to the gas coming out of the bend. We're now coming back up the pit straight, and you've finished a lap around VIR. There is a very rapid lap here around Virginia International Raceway. And to get you up to speed on the championship, let's go to the driver's points as they sit currently here in the Classic Teams Championship. up at the top of the graphic once we get it up here. Here's Juha Norlampi still leading the way very well this season after 3 races in. So we keep saying that, he's not gunning for that championship, but we'll see. He's got a good run so far, and it's looking better and better as the season goes on if his health holds up. Jared Hofer has moved up into second, and Fabian Gerber still sits there in third, with Nuno Moreira also not losing position in fourth. Very close battle for third between himself and Fabian. Matt Wood moves up onto the order. He sits in fifth, a little ways down from Nuno and Fabian. Sean, we also have a Constructors' Championship, just like they did in 78. What's that looking like there?
Joe, what it's looking like is a lot going on, moving around, bouncing around. Parmalat Racing up to first right now, 79 points. This battle is close amongst the top 5. Colin Bennett gets bumped down 1, only 5 points back. Equipreneur Elf sitting there in third, 71 points. And then you see McLaren, who went down to fourth, now tied up with Arrows Racing, sitting there. And, well, I'll tell you what, Jared Hofer there for Parmalat Racing, another good run by him today. Could certainly extend that out. But Juha Norlampi just won this race here a couple hours ago, Joe. And you know what? He's pretty hot today. So obviously this could switch back and forth. I got a feeling it's going to do it for probably most of the season.
I'm sure he's going to be looking for redemption after losing out on his own mistake last round at Watkins Glen. But let's tell you about today's race instead real quick and get you up to speed on what that is going to look like. We are on week 4. This is a 12-round schedule of this season in the Classic Teams Championship. 26 laps, like Sean mentioned at the start of the broadcast. Now, with them running just like they did back in 1978, do not expect scheduled pit stops. They do not need fuel. They should not need tires. If you have to come in, it's going to hurt. This is an iRacing official race, which means safety rating and I rating is in effect, and you can get DQ'd if you get more than 17 incidents. And Sean, as qualifying winds down here, we've got a few drivers still getting the last of their second lap in, but it looks like a newcomer that you and I are very familiar with is topping the charts, Michel Dudignon.
Yeah, we've seen him drive something else, Joe. Michel Dudignon is here, though, and the Frenchman with a blazing fast time right now, 138.7. Maybe catching the rest of this field a little bit off guard right now, the likes of Journo Frisch, Juha Norlampi, Antti Lepisto with a great qualifying effort so far. He sits right now second provisionally here, and I think we've got just a couple. Bob Batalla is still out there, I think, trying to get maybe finish his second lap or just completed it. But yeah, all the big players, Joe, seem to have just about finished up. Kai Rulicola is still out, but I think Kai just finished his lap, and that only good enough for 9th right now.
Interesting from Kaya. I know this is a top split. We had a split today, which means we had more than 35 drivers as the max in a single field, and so they have 2 races going simultaneously. This is the higher rated drivers you're watching today, and usually Kaya is well up there. Now, one driver still finishing his second lap, Jared Hofer, sitting 6th. He has a chance to improve. Only other driver able to improve still out on track is Stepani Lenaluoto and Barry West, I can see right now. Antti Lepisto, as you mentioned, he was sitting in second before his second lap and did not improve. Going to have to start next to Michel Dudignon. Jared's coming to finish his lap now as he climbs back up the hill. Oh, and we understand that he did make a mistake. This is a bad lap. And there you can see he stops before the start-finish line. Batalla finished his lap. Barry West has finished his lap. Nobody has improved, so let's go through the grid with nobody else able to change their time. Michel Dudignon coming over with aplomb and putting himself on the pole. Antti Lepisto on the outside of that front row. Journo Frisch starts in third with Nicola Kochi on the outside of row 2. Juha Norlampi a bit farther down than we're used to seeing him, starting in 5th today. Let's see if he can get that win that he lost in Watkins Glen last week. Jared Hofer starting in 6th with a good finish last race here today. Tapani Luoto starting in 7th with Steve Bycroft next to him in 8th. Then it's Bob Batalla in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Sean, is Kalle Rulicola.
Excellent. All right, row 6 going to be Matt Wood and Jamie Hall, a couple of fellow countrymen there, UK and IRL in Ireland. Clifton Cockrell going to start 13th. Pablo Suarez right there alongside him in 14th. Barry West is going to be in row 8 with Philip Lake. And then we go to row 9, Jean-Francois Bossis there in 17th. Mark Winfield 18th. Row 10, John Stevens and Antonor Jr. 20th. And that is it, Joe. We've got 20 cars getting ready to steam off this grid and put on a great race here for us today. 26 laps. Joe, it's 117 degrees on track. I think that's maybe why some of those qualifying times a little off. It is a hot one out here today. Partly cloudy skies. And again, 117 on track.
That is not what these drivers wanted on what is a very twisty course. With more curves out there, that means higher heat offers less grip and more chances to make mistakes. And boy, this course really can bring out some mistakes. You can see still waiting for a number of cars to come to the grid, looking a little sparse out there as we wait for them to line up. Looks like Norlampi just got out there in his machine. Actually, no, that was Kochi, I believe, there, or Frisch. Anyways, regardless, they're getting to the grid as we've got, you can see all these classic paints on many of these cars. These drivers do that voluntarily, organizing for the Classic Teams Championship to score special, separate from the iRacing Championship. Something to give themselves to fight for and make the Lotus 79 a bit unique in the world of iRacing. These guys are very fervent retro racers, loving these old cars. As we mentioned, Michel Dunignon also racing the Lotus 49, an earlier era machine. So as the lights come up, waiting for them to rev their engines and take off from the line. Green flag is out and they are on their way. Michel Dunignon does not get a good start at all, and already overtaken by Lepisto down to the first corner unless he can be very late on the brakes. Lepisto around the outside slots into that first position, a bit of 3 wide, well in the back. Still 2 wide with many of these cars, and I think everybody's gotten through, Sean.
Yeah, they have, just barely. They did go 3 wide for just a moment, but yes, starting to file in line of stern. See one car still stuck to the outside. They're all still trying to get settled here, Joe.
Yeah, looks like that side-by-side is Matt Wood, who overtook Bob Battalla for a nice move into that 10th position. They work their way up through the snake. Lepisto still leading the way by half a second over Dunignon. Michel's just off a win himself this week in the Lotus 49 over at Interlagos. Has come up to North America here for this race. Up to Oak Tree they go. Everybody manages to get their way through South Bend. Very fast corner in this car.
Yeah, there were a couple cars off of the grass, but they all managed. Now we're getting around Oak Tree here. Got to be really, really careful. Everybody's stacked up getting out of there.
Dunignon with a great run off of Oak Tree, starting to reel in ante. Is the draft pretty effective here down that back straight, Sean?
In the Lotus 79, it sure is, Joe. If you're within about a half a second, you can get in a tow there and make up a little bit of ground, but outbraking somebody is your best bet.
And boy, you can tell this is the top split. We didn't see anybody off into the roller coaster. Notoriously difficult place to brake and get the car woed up while keeping speed. Dunignon still not giving up as he is really hounding Lepisto for that top spot.
Joe, Steve Bycroft really struggling back here, just gave up 4 spots. Suarez gets by, Jamie Hall, Bob Battalla. Boy, oh boy, big trouble back there behind Battalla. Who was that? That was
Suarez.
Suarez and Jamie Hall.
We're going to look at the replay here, and like you said, he got into the side of Jamie Hall. He almost overtook 2 cars in one braking zone. Watch this. But I think he got a little too greedy, couldn't make the apex, and boom.
Yep. Well, gets a little fortunate there, sliding back onto the track and back into the race. But poor Jamie Hall gets kicked to the curb there.
Unfortunate to see, and Suarez was making fantastic progress through the field. If he could have just kept it together, he maybe would have had a good finish on his hands. As we watch Suarez try to recover, coming up through those climbing S's. Boy, that front battle for the lead is not over by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Michel is much closer this time, within 0.2 of Antti Lepisto. They climb up the hill. That draft that you mentioned is starting to reel him in, but I don't think it's going to be enough by the time they hit the roller coaster. Both of them slowing as Journaux Frisch now closes in on the back of this battle for P1.
This is insane back here. Real cola, Jared Hofer all over. Kali is all over Jared right now.
Coming out of Hogpen on the front stretch. Oh, he's got a fantastic run on him. Right in that slipstream. Tapani Lindaluoto is watching just behind in case this goes wrong. Is Herfer going to defend? Yes, he does. Stays to the inside. Not soon enough on the brakes. Oh, but he can't make the corner as Kalle Ruola-Kola slithers off into the grass. Comes back onto the course, but not before losing 2 more positions.
You really have to start braking at about the 300 mark there to get this car slowed down. You go much past that and you risk doing exactly what Kalle did right there.
That's twice in 2 laps, Sean, that we've seen drivers look brave at the start of the braking zone and then look foolish by the end of it.
I struggled with that. I kept trying to find speed there and I kept losing it because I just wasn't giving myself enough time to slow the car down. It's a long straight you're coming down there into that turn.
Absolutely. The front stretch accelerating all the way from Hogpen down to Horseshoe. Meanwhile, our leaders are accelerating from the Oak Tree to the roller coaster as Dudignon, after giving up that pole, is trying desperately to get it back. They are still holding back Journaux Frisch, who has not been able to close to as close as Michel is to Antti. And once again, we're not seeing him able to make ground with a move into the roller coaster. They all accordion back together, now down into Hogpen. Juha Norlampi is up in this mix as well, having qualified in 5th. He's bumped himself up to 4th.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise. Tapani Lindaluoto not able to make up much ground yet. In fact, finds himself almost 5.5 seconds behind our leader, Antti Lepisto, sitting there in 7th, right where he started.
Tapani, another regular in these retro series. He raced here in the Nissan for the Camel GT series, took a 2nd place. He's a little farther down today. Still rated number 2, as you can tell by the number on his car, as that's the 2nd highest I rated in top split. So Tapani, certainly a force.
Yeah, a force indeed. Steve Bycroft was struggling earlier. Seems to have picked it up again. Working on right now, trying to get around Philip Blake. That battle is not bad. Steve actually just made a mistake there. Lost a little bit of ground to him as I started talking about him. But those two keeping it close still. They've got a little ways to go to catch Bob Padala, who about 2.5 seconds up the track from him.
They swing through South Bend, but our leaders are on the back straight once again, and I'm anxious to see if this draft is ever going to work, as Antti Lepisto leads Michel Dudignon. Now, that says 2nd and 3rd, but that's because Jamie Hall has taken a tow, and so he is not actually in 1st place. He's being scored there. He'll be slotted down once they cycle past the start-finish straight, and once again, Lepisto able to hold back the Frenchman. Now, let's see. We've got a replay of Hall. Sean, did you see what happened to him? I have missed it.
I didn't. Let's catch it on the replay here real quick. We'll all do a little bit of learning here. Jamie, though, we just talked about him. And looks like the Marlboro Lotus 79 just spun by itself there in the middle of the turn.
Yeah, this was the entry to NASCAR, that kink. And it looks like he pulls it over. He must have damage and decided it was just too much to handle the car because he didn't hit anything. He was the car that was hit by Pablo Suarez earlier in the race, so his handling might not have been well. Meanwhile, back on Michel Dudignon, who is ever closer as we ride on that front suspension climbing through the snake. He is just slathering the pressure onto the fin.
Yeah, it's an intense battle. You know what, Antti, though, having a great drive, Joe, has been just flawless. And you've got to be with Dudignon behind you. And this is what made it such a chore for Dudignon, is to get around Oak Tree again, Ante just gets the perfect exit there, and Dunion just can't stay close enough to make a difference with the draft. You got to get all the way down here, and by the time you do, you just not made up enough. In fact, right now, Dunion getting left behind this time down.
Now, you've watched Michel in a number of races, so if you were Ante, where would you expect it from Michel around this track? What kind of move do you think he would make?
I think he'd try and make a move on me down in the horseshoe, take advantage of me maybe breaking late there like we've seen already happen, or maybe down in South Bend on the way to Oak Tree there. But those might be the best. If you can keep it close, like I said, then you can use that draft to your advantage and get around somebody down to the other end of the course.
They have separated a little bit now, half a second. So let's jump back to 5th place where Jared Hoffer is trying to hound that place out of Nicola Cocci's hands. Closes in as they come up to NASCAR Bend, then it's a left hook. Slow chicane, having to get back to the power carefully with these powerful cars. He slips back just a little bit, trying to find the traction. Gerd up through the snake, loses ground. What was 4/10 extends up to 6/10 now as they hit the climbing S's.
Joe, I can only imagine something was going on there with Jamie Hall taking the car behind the wall and left the race. Maybe, sometimes life happens and you've got to get out for some reason. That might have been the case with Jamie, or maybe a hardware failure of some sort. But certainly our best to Jamie. Shame I had to bow out of this one early.
The driver that he made contact with, Pablo Suarez, certainly has not gone without experiencing some pain from that damage as well. He's down at 18th, second to last car out on track at the moment. Wondering if he might pull it in early with how far down the order he is as well. He's not been able to make inroads on this field after that early incident. So as those cars climb up the backstretch, actually in a fairly close fight there, Antonor Jr. John Stevens goes a little bit wide, offers an opportunity for Antonor, but he can't take advantage as they hit the hog pin. All 4 cars, this is 4th position. John Stevens, Barry West as well at the top of that train. Stevens gets himself a good run coming out of hog pin, up the front stretch. Barry West stays to the inside to defend. Closing in from the outside. Stevens goes a little bit wide, dips his wheels off into the grass, and that gives Suarez at least one more position.
Maybe, and we've talked about it enough already, but it maybe is the easiest spot on course to make a mistake, Joe, and get away with it. If you're smart and not really cooking it down there. You're cooking too much, you're going to slide off down into the barrier.
Thankfully, I haven't seen anybody throw it away that way yet. We ride on our 3rd place driver on the podium here, Jerno Frisch. Wow, he's getting close to Dunion now. Before, that gap was half a second, but he has reeled him in and is now trying to see what he can do with the Frenchman. We ride on the roll hoop, climbing up the backstretch. He closes in with the draft. Can he get an opportunity? Michel goes defensive off to the left, but it's going to switch back to the right. Can he hold him off? He goes to the apex and shuts the door.
Cherno getting a little jumpy here.
It is now a 3-way fight for P1 out here, and we still have 20 laps to go, Sean. This is early in this race.
Yes, sir, it is. You're looking at a good 40-plus minutes of action here today in this race from VIR, and the top 3 right now are putting on quite a show. Let's not forget about Juha Norlampi. Norlampi's right back there stalking all 3 of these guys. He's got a plan. He won the race a couple hours ago. He can do it again. Just got to be patient here. All 3 of those, the top 3, they're going to be fighting here. And you know what? Juha stands to gain the most, sitting right back there in 4th where he's at.
Let's see if he can get himself just that little bit closer, still a 1.5 seconds behind 3rd place. Now, Sean, the way we've seen Michel not suck up behind Lepisto, do you think maybe he's running a little bit too much wing, or is this a setup issue?
very well could be a setup issue, and Michelle, not being a regular in the series, maybe missing it a little bit on that setup. Now, I will say, one of the great things about the Lotus 79 series is a lot of sharing that goes on with the setups. So I think everybody starts with about the same baseline on a setup, if you know what I mean, Joe. Yeah, if you make little tweaks, they may work for you, but they may not always equivalent to top speed, and that's where he may be in trouble right now.
Didn't close in once again, but Journal Frisch did gain a little bit of time, drops it coming through Hogpen, as that's looking more and more likely that Michel, as he's fast through the twisties, has got a bit more wing here than his competitors around him. The downside to that is, unfortunately, you want to be fast on the straight so that you can overtake, since it's hard in the technical sections. They break one more time down into the horseshoe. And Journal Frisch looking very strong on the brakes into that first corner. They swing back around, all of them 4/10 apart, just equal. And looking at the timing and scoring, Juhan Noralampi is dropping off. It was 1.5, it's now 1.8 seconds. He is not gaining ground.
Yeah, I thought maybe he might have been, but yeah, something off there. Now he's starting to get actually reeled in by Kochi and Jared Hoffer, who have continued to follow each other. Battle heating up between Tapani Lilialuto and Matt Wood. Matt was right up on him, has lost a little bit, but those two still having a pretty good battle. And then you go back to Kalle Ruokola, who, quite frankly, is just a little off pace today, in my opinion, up a spot, but a bad qualifying effort did not help Kalle at all. Got a little bit of damage on the front wing and is, well, for Kalle anyway, struggling in ninth.
That Leger usually is up in the top 5, so to see him in ninth is unusual for us today, and he's dropped off a little bit on Wood, who continues to try and see what he can do with Tapani Lilialuto. They all break successfully down into the roller coaster and plunge back down the hill. Fortunately, not much with these guys at the moment, so this battle is at a stalemate. We'll check back in on them later. It has closed up with our leaders. It was at 4/10 last lap around. It was down to 2/10 before they broke here for the first corner. And once again, Journal Frisch is just looking incredible on the brakes every single time into that first corner, closing ground and getting right under that rear wing.
I think Journo smells victory and is just eager to make something happen here.
He managed to get it on broadcast at Watkins Glen, although that was through a bit of luck. This time he could have the pace. Michel is able to get close here up to the climbing S's, and then there's no place to pass through them, just cannot go too wide. Now they swing through South Bend, coming up to Oak Tree. This is where Sean thinks Michel might take a look. He did take a peek, but came back in line.
Oh, Journo tried to peek his nose in there.
Cars really don't need any damage anywhere on that front wing, so these drivers try not to get too close to their competitors. You have to have such a precise bit of aero on this machine. And look at that. Once again, Journo's starting to play mind games here. He's looking back and forth, getting himself in the mirror, Sean.
Yes, sir. Trying to create a little bit of pressure. Kind of keep Dugnan thinking about, well, okay, where do I try and break the momentum? Well, Journo, very unpredictable right now, giving him a lot of different looks.
Drops back a little bit on the front stretch. Now as they come down to that braking zone where we've seen Journo gain ground, can he do it once more? And just look at that. Just, it goes from about 3 car lengths down to 1. And he doesn't give it up. It's not the accordion effect, Sean. He stays with him.
Yeah, he's still hanging on. I hate to get away from that battle, but Hofer and Nikola Kochi really still having a great battle. Kochi making a mistake. Oh, no. Falling into the hands of Jared Hofer. Hofer can't do anything with it. Does not take advantage of that. Ouch.
Oh, coming into the snake, there is just no place to go unless that car is fully off course. Look at him close in, coming up to the climbing S's. He's not brave enough to stick his nose in through here, but he stays with him. trying to see if he can find a way past. If he can hold close here through South Bend, it may offer an opportunity, but it looks like that wake is making it too hard to stay with him. And into Oak Tree, he has to drop back.
Boy, opportunity just gone there. Still awful close, can get in the toe here, but it'll be the end of the run where Jared will catch Kochi, and that's not going to be enough to make a move.
And it looks like Mark Winfield may have retired. I'm not seeing him hit anything as I look back through the replay, so I think Winfield has just elected his day is not worth continuing. Meanwhile, we watch this battle for that 5th position. Kochi holding off Gerd. Down into the first corner once again. A little bit too far back for Hofer to try and do anything. The DH driver just waiting patiently for a mistake. A bit wide through the horseshoe from Kochi, but still nothing he can do. Sean, it's
okay.
It's old school F1. There's no DRS to help these guys try to get by.
No, there isn't. You know what? I'm watching actually a decent battle at the back of the pack. It's Barry West in 15th right now. Remember we talked about Antonor Jr., the Brazilian. Boy, he's really driving it hard behind West right now. And in the other car behind him, John Stevens and Pablo Suarez, who's still fighting but struggling, now dropped all the way down to the back of the pack. But boy, these four are having a lot of fun right now.
Certainly have been close together for quite a while. We last looked at them maybe 5 or 6 laps ago, and they have not separated whatsoever. And I can tell you from experience, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Sean, even when it's for these final places, these guys are going to fight hard. They want to get as many spots as they can.
Hey, man, there's nothing like passing somebody on a track. From someone who's been passed a lot, I can tell you.
Oh, Rulicola with an excellent move, aggressively down into the roller coaster. Let's look at it one more time. He was close on him. This is the first time I feel like we've really seen someone successfully make this work into the roller coaster. Just gutsy on the brakes in that Ligier, and he takes it away.
Great move by Rulicola. Finally starting to, well, maybe Rulicola heard me talking about him struggling and decided to pick things up there a bit, Joe.
Don't call it a comeback. So
yeah.
It's Callie. Gets himself into 8th now. Our lead pack just keeps teasing us with this battle. Norlampi, we thought he was dropping off. Well, he's managed to refocus. He's cut it down from 1.8 to 1.1. Patience
and good focus. And right now, Juha Norlampi seems to have it. It's back. He's back. It's a good time, too. We're at the halfway point here.
He's still got a long way in the championship. This is only round 4, but I'm sure maybe somewhere in the back of his mind thinking just get a good finish today, and that can help him maybe take home the Classic Teams Championship on the driver's side. Who would have thought with the way he, as Gernot Frisch gets a run, looks around the outside of the kink, which is going to switch back to the inside into the roller coaster, and Dudun Jan denies him the apex one more time. He still remains close to Antti Lepisto, despite the effort from Gernot Frisch does not cut off Michel Dudignon from our leader. They're all staying close together. 1, 2, 3.
Hashtag denied. And Dudignon doing a really good job of that so far. Gernot got to be frustrated. Gernot looking to the outside here.
Gernot has decided it is time to go, finally making his moves. Can't do anything with him through the horseshoe. It's interesting to me that we've seen Michel defend to the what would be the outside of the roller coaster once you get to that second apex, Sean. I would think he would want the inside of that one.
Oh, definitely. But I just think right now it's about putting pressure on Dudignon, trying to get Dudignon to make a mistake. You know, again, Dudignon's the odd man out here, and not as familiar with racing with him as others. So let's see if we can rattle this guy, this invader, this French invader to the Lotus 79 series.
Oh, Michel's too cool of a character to try to rattle him for what we've seen in his fights with Mick Claridge over in the Lotus 49. This time they're a little bit more spread out as they hit the backstretch. Car that isn't as spread out, though, as Juha Noralampi's cut it down from 1.1 now to 0.7. You can see him as we ride on board with Lepisto just off in the distance.
He's just a little bit faster than everybody in front of him right now, Juha. Again, things just seem to starting to click for Juha here finally. Now in the beginning of the second half of the race.
Is this a car, Sean, where if you behave on the tires by the end of the race, you know, people can come back to you? Is it sort of like we see in the bootleg series where you have to take care of them?
Well, okay, this is actually a very durable tire, but listen, if you drive it really hard, you get it really hot, it will slide around on you. And you know, with these conditions today, 117 degrees, yes, laying back like Juha Noralampi did help him. The fuel getting lighter in the car and his tires being a little bit better, it's giving him advantage. Here we go.
Sorry, we got to jump back to Nicola Kochi. I thought there was an attempt from Jared Hofer going in a NASCAR bend, but he couldn't make the pass. He got very close and stuck his nose in. Now that we've switched that battle, of course, it cools down just a little bit as Hofer drops back a couple car lengths.
Yeah, and Lenaluto's still back there digging, Joe, and Lenaluto is actually faster than those two right now. While they continue to fight, Tapani's starting to make up a little bit of ground on those two.
Tapani wanting to get in this and see if he can get himself into the top 5 after getting a second here at VIR in a different high downforce car. 12 laps to go. We're past halfway. Let's give you the rundown of the field. Antti Lepisto still leading the way after he made a move on the first lap. In fact, off the line, outgunned Michel Dudignan, who started on the pole and has slipped back into second. Gerdo Frisch has been trying to get his nose into this fight, but can't seem to make anything work. He sits in third. Juha Noralampi has been waiting patiently behind. He's dropped that time once again, is now back up to 1.8 seconds, sitting in fourth. Nicola Kochi in a great battle rounding out the top 5, but he has to hold off Gerd Hofer, who sits in 6th just behind him and has been putting some pressure on him. Tapani Lenaluoto, as you said, sitting back just about a second and a half, sitting in 7th. Kalle Ruokola, we keep saying it, but this is just unusual for him, having not the greatest days, sitting in 8th position. And Matt Wood is not far behind, so close racing through these top 9. Then you have to drop back a bit of a gap to round out the top 10, Sean, for Bob Battalla.
All right, then we'll go to 11th, and it's Steve Bycroft. Been hanging on to that spot for a little bit here. And he with that front 10, but got to go quite a ways back to Philip Lake. And currently in their 11th. And 13th going to go Jean-Francois Bossis today. Another Frenchman in the field, riding in 13th. Clifton Cockrell currently sitting in 14th right now. Now we go back to this battle that continues to rage on. Barry West hanging on the 15th spot, Joe. John Stevens there in 16th. Antonor Jr. 17th. And Pablo Suarez in 18th. None of those last 4 positions are decided. They continue to fight on. It was just a moment ago. They were side by side. Things spread out just a little bit. Only because, well, there was a little give and take going on. A little bit of momentum lost. But again, I think these 4 cars will be fighting to the death here over the last 10 laps.
And that's out of 20 cars that started. Mark Winfield and Jamie Hall so far are only DNFs in this top split. Again, if you're just joining us, this is round 4 of the Classic Teams Championship here in the Lotus 79 official racing here on iRacing for this car. And Juha is very much falling off at this point. This is the farthest back we've seen him all race.
Yeah, Joe, and you know, maybe when we were talking about Juha saving the car, maybe during that time when he was starting to make up ground, maybe, you know, things started to heat up, and well, the result of trying to get to the front has now resulted in a little bit of degradation, and Kochi, Hoffer, maybe starting to reel him in a little
our
bit.
leaders in a battle. Sorry to cut you off as Lepisto actually went defensive into Oak Tree. Dudagnon tried to outbreak him but couldn't get through, and that of course closes up Journal Frisch right behind them as well as they come off of Oak Tree. Nobody able to really make any ground up the hill. Journal Frisch is closing in with a bit of the slipstream. Is he going to run out of room by the time they hit the braking? Yes, he does. I'm not sure if someone made a mistake out of South Bend, but there was suddenly a severe attack on the lead.
Yeah, and Journo honestly almost made contact with Dudagnon down there in Oak Tree. Boy, but these three are just digging right now. Back across the line. There'll be 9 laps to go.
One mistake from any of these 3 drivers could cost them dearly. We saw that a bit ago, a week ago at Watkins Glen. Another attempt as we see Michel Dudagnon go defensive to hold off Journal Frisch, knowing that he's close into there. In 5th place, we have a battle, and Jared Hoffer is able to get past Tapani Luoto. Or no, excuse me, Tapani has caught Jared. Okay.
Yeah, no, actually, Kochi was the big loser there. Kochi losing 2 spots there to Jared and Tapani.
That's what it was. I was trying to remember how the order that those guys were in. Kochi demonstrating exactly what I was just talking about. One mistake can send you tumbling down. The top of the field is so closely matched in this top split with all the high-rating big hitters racing together here today. You're going to see it right here as Kochi comes down into the braking zone for that first corner. He doesn't defend, and they came together just a little bit, actually.
Yeah, just enough to get Kochi offline and just a little bit cautious there and loses that momentum. Lets both of them by. Don't worry.
Kochi is closing. Hoffer goes to the left side of the track. He's going to have the inside of the kink, but he's not brave enough on the brakes. Look at Lena Luoto find the apex, gets it woed up in time in 1 lap. Oh, and Kochi gets his spot back. What a move.
What a move. What a mistake by Jared Hoffer, too, boy. Kochi, though, able to get a little bit back there, up another rung. Can we catch Lena Luoto, though? That's the question.
Nicola had split-second timing to do something out of that mistake, and he grabbed it with both hands to get himself back into 6th. But how about Tapani in 1 lap, 2 positions? Some opportunistic racing from the Finn.
Tell you what, after sitting back there, riding in about 7th and 8th place, Tapani definitely picking things up when it counts, Joe.
Showing why he's fearsome in that Nissan, bringing those skills in the high downforce cars over here. Ruokola as well in a battle with Bob Batala now. Let's see if we can find a replay, because Ruokola was well up ahead. Oh, he had an off in a NASCAR. And there you see, just spears off. So easy to do in that curved braking zone there, Sean.
It really is, and boy, tough day for Ruokola. You know, again, things just didn't seem right. A little bit of grass there, and it's like a magnet. It just pulls you and it keeps pulling.
Even F1 cars can have trouble into NASCAR Bend. Interesting story about that corner, though, Sean. The reason they call it NASCAR Bend is because Richard Petty, apparently, when this track was first opened, speared off there and went in a NASCAR race. Hence why they call it NASCAR Corner.
NASCAR Bend.
Up to our leaders once more. Still teasing us with this battle. It has not changed order since lap 1. Lepisto, Dudagnon, Frisch. Norlampi just giving that watchful eye, dropped back once again to 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and Norlampi actually still has just good enough pace to stay ahead of Lena Luoto, Kochi, and Hofer back there. So if Juha could just stay focused right now over these last 7 laps, 4th place looking pretty good. Catching those 3 up front, though, man, it's going to be really, really tough. The battle continues, though, between Kochi and Jared Hofer all over Nicola Kochi right now, and Kochi with a good trip right there off the curb and up through the S's, able to get away just a bit.
It's Italy versus Diach, and of course the Italian has that Ferrari red on his car. As they're starting to close on Luoto just a little bit, now as they hit Oak Tree. Actually, did Hofer make a mistake? I think he dropped back through South Bend. I just looked away. Apparently, going back and watching myself, he had a big slide coming through South Bend, causing him to have to get off the power. So as we jump back up to our leaders once more, they come to the front stretch. Dudagnon looking very close. Can he get the run off the corner? We suspect a little bit more wing on the Frenchman. This time he gets a fantastic jump off the bend as they stream towards the first turn. Can he try and outbrake him into it? He takes a little bit of look offline, but comes back to it. A bit of tire smoke puffing off of Antti Lepisto's car. Maybe feeling the pressure now, locking him up into that first corner.
And I think Journo Frisch had a horrible exit off of 17A, and he has really, really fallen off pace here off these front two.
As these two stay close, we had a bit of an incident with Philip Blake that actually sent one other car off. Clifton Cockrell took advantage of that. And I believe that was Jean-Francois Bossis. Here we're going to see on the replay, loses it, has to take evasive action, Jean-Francois, and takes a trip through the grass.
Wow, big trip through the grass there.
Yeah, let's watch this from above. This has got to be scary. Wow, what reaction time.
Yeah.
Philip Blake is thanking his lucky stars that he didn't get run into. Oh, and Michel Dudagnon is the closest he's ever been, coming up the backstretch, right under that rear wing. Can he do anything with Antti Lepisto? He's going to be forced around the outside once they hit that second apex, and he breaks just that little bit early, not wanting to try it, knowing he has 6 more laps to attempt.
These two have been great.
Ooh, staying very close, coming through Hog Pen. Tries to get himself a run for this second long straight coming up the front stretch, but I think Michel just was not strong enough coming out of that final corner. Oh, Nicola Cocci. Nicola Cocci with a problem. He has it off coming through Hog Pen, and that gives up 2 spots to both Hoffer and Wood.
Yeah, just missed the turn there, Joe. Gets off by himself, gets back up on track clean.
So the Italian has returned to the track, and Matt knocking on Woods, thanking himself that he has slipped up into 7th now.
See what you did there, Joe.
I always got to get one in.
Joe, up front, they've just gone and left Journo. They've left him. He's an afterthought.
Turned it on, and the Austrian driver has no answer for them. In fact, he's slipping back into Juha Norlampi just a bit as well.
You know, with about 4.5 laps left, I'm starting to look at this distance. Norlampi, this is not bad for him. He's kind of reeling him in a little bit.
Keep an eye on that to see if maybe 3rd is up for grabs for the Finn. Meanwhile, Dudagnon not as close this time as they hit the roller coaster and can't attack like he did last lap on Lepisto. 5 laps to go, going to be 4 this time by the line as we ride on board the Frenchman. Up the hill. Just has been doing everything he could on Antti Lepisto this whole race, despite taking the pole. Isn't able to get by. What can he do? Can he get any sort of mistake out of the cool and calm Finn that's been ahead of him? Into the left hook. Swinging through the right-hander, now entering into the snake. No place to pass up through here as they swing under the bridge. Gonna hit the climbing S's. Dudagnon has had a strong car coming into here. Prix continues to drop back, now 1.5 seconds back from these two. Dudignon, knowing that he can attack better, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about what's behind. Does he get more aggressive now? As they come up the hill. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Noralampi's still gaining back here, Joe. Just, I don't know if he's going to have enough time. He's kind of running out of it. Gains aren't big enough, but boy, it's going to be close.
Nothing doing with these folks, so let's jump back to 15th because Pablo Suarez, we were wondering what he could do with the damage on his car from the early incident. Well, he's managed to jump up to 15th, and he's trying to overtake Barry West. It's the only other car that he has close enough to maybe gain a position.
Yeah, and it's the same cast of players. Barry West having a great drive today, trying to hold off Pablo Suarez. Does not want to give up that position he's worked so hard to get.
He was making him think up into the climbing S's, looking to the outside, but doesn't actually make an attempt. He backs off once they hit Oak Tree. We are now 3 to go as they've crossed the line once more. Dudignon got to within 0.2 into that first corner, has dropped back to 0.3 once more. Prix has closed it in just a little bit. Was 1.5 seconds. It's now down to 1 second. These cars yo-yoing back and forth up at the front. Noralampi as well dropping off. And Noralampi with a mistake through South Bend costs him over 1 second. We're going to look at the replay real quick, and then we got to get back to our leaders. This South Bend corner frightening just about any car you chuck through it. The track drops off, and you can see he's lucky to get it back on course.
Yeah, a little bit of skill there involved, but luck a big factor for Juha. Hanging on to 4th place. Just got to finish out these last couple laps, but now almost 3 seconds down to Journal Frisch. That's going to be really, really tough to make up unless Journo makes a big mistake. And right now, Journo's gathered things back up, Joe. He is on his way to catching Dudignon here. Fastest on that last lap. Fastest lap of the race. The lap before it.
The Austrian driver has regrouped. And with the penultimate lap now on, opportunities are starting to slip away. Michel Dudignon has to know that he's got to do something if he wants to get by Antti Lepisto. He's been able to hold on to him. He's been able to put pressure on him. He's even made a few attacks, but he cannot make the overtake. Frisch just holding back at the moment. Ready to pick up the pieces if Michel makes an ill-fated move. Past the townhouses, through South Bend, through the dip, back up the hill into Oak Tree, closing in, looking very strong here for Michel Dudignon, the Frenchman, looking to get himself the run off the corner, but he starts to squirm under the power, and I think that cost him as he drops back from Lepisto a little bit. They are now dead even, 0.3 between each of these cars. Frisch once again looking a little stronger under the braking. That brake bias may be favoring the Austrian.
Boy, we don't talk about that enough. That can make just so much of a difference, Joe. That brake bias setting.
Oh, and Wood.
Oh.
And what happened to Wood and Hofer? Looks like they had it off. They came together in the roller coaster. White flag is out. We're going to watch the replay real quick, and then we'll go back to our leaders. He made the attempt, and they just didn't have enough room to make it too wide. Both of them slither off and lose positions. Last lap, last chance for all of our top 3. We have a podium. They've been in the same order since lap 1, but are they going to finish in that order? Antti Lepisto leads. Michel Dudignon hounds him from 2nd place, and Journal Frisch has been holding on from that 3rd, not looking as able to do anything with these two as he drops back. Are we going to see a wild dive for the Frenchman coming through South Bend? We've seen him make attempts into Oak Tree. Nothing doing this time. Both of them stay in line. Coming out of the corner. Dudignon has had trouble down the straight, and he has trouble getting the power down. He loses ground. This was probably his last chance as Lepisto starts to streak away. Journo Frisch with a good run off of Oak Tree. Could he get himself into second? Breaking down to the corner. Journo takes a look, but he's not close enough. Oh, off the apex. A little bit of a tap into the back. Dudignon slips off the course. Journo Frisch up in a second. This allows Antti Lepisto to stretch away.
Wow.
Lepisto made the decisive move off the line with a good run from the green. Lepisto is going to take the win. Journo Frisch is slowing. Is Journo Frisch going to give it back? Journo Frisch is going to give the spot back to Dudignon, and he's not going to take it. Frisch in second, Dudignon in second. Let's go to 6.
Ruocola fighting to hang on to 6 right now, and it's going to happen. Ruocola going to get 6th place. Nicola Kochi tried. Couldn't get it done. Matt Wood comes across an 8th, 9th. Going to go to Jerdolf for a Bob Patala. Going to get round out the top 10.
Close fighting for those drivers. Bycroft manages to come home in 11th, just outside the top 10. Clifton Cockrell is all by his lonesome. It looks like he's a solid 12th, with Jean-Francois Boscas in 13th. And Barry West a ways back in 14th as well.
Wow, what a finish.
My goodness, I expected an attack from Dudignon. I wasn't expecting Journo Frisch to be able to get himself into second the way he dropped back. And that was good sportsmanship from Journo to try and give it back, but it looks like Michel wasn't hearing any of it. He felt maybe he got it fair and square. In fact, sounds like we've got the replay if we want it. Let's take a look at how this played out. I thought maybe Michel would have the corner here, Sean. I'm not sure if he outbraked himself or what happened. He just could not get it turned in.
Yeah, I think braking was the issue there, and boy, yeah, either that or it's hard to say. It really is. We're not in the cockpit. Had run such a great race. Dudignon had spent so much time behind Lepisto fighting. And, boy, just hard to say what happened there.
Just that little bit of tap sent him out to the grass, and a half spin gave it up to Frisch. Even though he didn't finish first, that's a first and a second. Back-to-back weeks here on the broadcast. With that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll have all the upcoming races on screen, and after that, we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Don't go away. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. It was a pressure cooker in this race, and in the end, it came down to the final lap, but it wasn't for the lead. It was a battle for second place that decided things, and Antti Lepisto took home the win after getting off the line better than his competitor. Jerno Friesch was in second, but he was in third for the majority of this race. After a little bit of a mistake from Dudagnon into the roller coaster, he gave second away, and Michel finishes in third. Juha Norlampi drops back, unfortunately not able to redeem himself after giving away the win at Watkins Glen. He has to settle for fourth, just off the podium. Tapani Linnaluoto, after taking a second here at VIR in the Nissan and the Camel GT Series, gets a top 5. Not a bad job for Tapani here in the CTC. Kalle Ruokola coming home in 6th with a close battle with Nicola Kochi, who finishes in 7th. Matt Wood comes home in 8th after a mistake a little bit earlier in the race. Gerd Hoffer coming home in 9th, and Bob Patala rounding out the top 10 with a nice quiet race.
All right, I'll take the last 10, and that was Steve Bycroft with an 11th place finish today. Clifton Cockrell going to finish 12th. Jean-Francois Boscus, 13th. Barry West, 14th. Pablo Lumbreras Suarez today, 15th. John Stevens, 16th. And Tenor Jr., exciting driver to watch today at times, 17th. Philip Blake going to take the 18th spot. He's the last one on track. Poor Mark Whitfield and Jamie Hall, they both wind up taking their cars behind the wall, 19th and 20th, respectively, Joe.
That is your field for today. We have second place ready to talk to us. Jerno Friesch is rocked up into our ready for interview room. Let's pull him in and get his perspective on that last lap. First off, quick question for Jerno. Did you slow to try and let Michel by at the line?
Yeah, I did, as I was not absolutely sure if it was a fair move. I didn't get a contact, so I think we didn't touch, but I wasn't sure about that, so at least I wanted to give Michel a chance to take the position back.
Now, talk about the move into the roller coaster on that final lap. It looked like you were having a look, but I think it was helped along by Michel outbraking himself. What happened from your perspective?
He wrote in the text chat that he locked the brakes there, so of course I was trying to push him into a mistake. And you can't rely on that because Michel is a pretty good driver. Also Antti, both of them were driving a solid race without any mistakes until the last lap.
Now, you've got 2 weeks in a row on the podium here with a first last time and a second this week. Does that momentum help you? Does that mental boost encourage you in this series, or is it something where you don't even think about it once you get to the next round?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really think about it. It all depends on how much you like a track, how familiar you are with it, how your setup works, and then it comes down to just not making mistakes in the important races.
Sean, do you have any questions for Jerno? That was an intense race there.
It really was, Jerno. I mean, you spent a lot of time chasing. It's got to wear you out. This no power steering on the Lotus 79. How do your arms and shoulders feel right now? I don't have any idea what kind of wheel you've got. You can share that with us if you want.
I have a club sport wheel version 1, so it's not that strong. So my arms are fine. But I'm soaking wet. It's a stressful race, so need a shower now.
All right, Jerno, we'll let you hit the showers, buddy.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
That was Jerno Friesch, second place finisher today. Unfortunately, we don't have either of the rest of our podium, but we do have our 14th place finisher who was in quite a battle for much of the race himself. Barry West has joined us after fighting off Pablo Suarez and John Stevens and Antonor Jr. Barry, it may have been a little bit farther back in the pack, but it looked like that was just as impressive of a battle between you guys.
God, that was pressure, I tell you, all through the race. There was somebody behind me, different person every few laps, and I just had to take defensive lines all the way and watch Clifton and Jean-Francois drive away. But I thought, I'm not giving these positions up because I knew the car was not very good at all today, and I don't know whether the tyre pressures were wrong or what, but it just wasn't handling anywhere near like it was in qualifying. But yeah, that was a good fun race to actually hold them off for that long. That was pretty intense.
Well, Barry, it was a lot of fun. That battle just did not seem to go away. A pretty long race around this track, 26 laps. How does one really try to keep that focus? Or is there a lot of fear involved?
I don't know. I just make sure I hit braking points earlier rather than late because it's so easy to go off here. And once you're off on the grass, I did in the earlier race, and it was one mistake cost me 4 places. Yeah, you've got to just keep focused, I suppose. But yeah, it's turn one. As long as you defend into turn one, it's very difficult to go around the outside. It takes a brave man to try to go on the outside. Where's the other place? At the end of the long back straight, I was always, as we come off the oak tree, I was always keeping to the left of the track. Then if you want to go round me, you're going to have to go the long way round. And fortunately, yeah, if they were within 0.3, I'd make sure I kept the inside, but nobody went round. So yeah, it was good racing. Pablo was very strong. And I knew once Pablo or John got past, I'd watch them go away in distance. But yeah, I was quite pleased with that. Pleased with that result.
All right, Barry. Well, hey, we're pleased you came by and talked to us for just a moment. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Great job, guys. Look forward to watching the replay. Cheers.
And cheers to Barry West. We appreciate him, Joe.
Absolutely. 14th place finisher today. We're going to close up, though, here at the Classic Teams Championship. Of course, thank you to the Lotus 79 community for rallying together and bringing GSRC on board. And, of course, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. The next race is going to be at Montreal. Very different to here. Barriers are extremely close. That'll be Sunday, July 16th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, a track this car actually raced on. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.